All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're ready. All right, hey, all right, we gotta start again.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Half Serious F1 podcast brought to you by
Zetos. He's pointing at Zetos. It's Half Serious, everybody. It's the Half Serious F1 podcast. We're here. We're back.
We're trying something new.
Is this episode 5 for us, buddy?
But old. 5. Yep.
5?
Yep.
What are we trying new that's old?
If we're Roman numeral, that's like the
It's
I
V.
before the V.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's V. Yeah. V for victory. V for victory for
V
Oscar
for-
Piastri, dude. Are we geniuses or was it inevitable?
I think that's the way it happened.
Because we called that shot. We Babe Ruth called it. We were like, hey, it's going to be Oscar Piastri again.
I would say let's go back to a couple episodes where we actually predicted that this guy was going to
Who's going to take the driver's championship?
step his game up.
I looked back at that episode. Don't think you're the only one checking the archives.
Yeah.
I think we said Piastri had a chance, but we weren't going to rule it out for Max Verstappen. Do you still feel that way?
Man, it's so hard to count that guy out. I'm just gonna from here on out. He's for sure gonna be on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's the Red Bull car is not great. It's not great, and that guy is still delivering consistently good performances. You know, there's a reason Max Verstappen is not ruled out of the championship, and that's because he's the kind of guy that does not give up a line. You know, I mean,
Clearly.
we're talking lap 1, turn 1 of Saudi Arabia. Max Verstappen's on pole. If this race goes exactly the way every other race has this season, Max Verstappen wins this race.
Yep. Yeah.
Wins this race. We have a little bit to talk about that, the way dirty air and DRS affects that kind of thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But more so than anything, it's all about Max Verstappen is not a guy that gives up his line ever. And Piastri was the one who stood up to him today. He said, no, I'll take that spot. And clearly, I don't care how many printouts you want to show me, Christian Horner, of Max being like, you can see his wings slightly in this. No.
I would say that was AI.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, in a world of AI generation, Christian Horner has it for his benefit.
Yeah.
No, dude, Piastri kept that line. And he was the one that stayed inside the track. I don't care. I must have backed that thing up 5 or 10 times just so I could see was Verstappen slightly ahead? Did he, could he have had? He didn't stay on the track. And that's the real thing here. One guy went off the track, the other guy stayed on the line. And Piastri took it. They had a safety car immediately after because of the Tsunoda
Yuki and Gasly.
Gasly, yeah, which just a racing incident. But
Every time with that guy, though.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's heartbreaking.
Poor Yuki. I wanted to actually make sure I had my stats up or points.
But anyways, so they had a safety car immediately after that, not because of their interaction, but because of an interaction behind them. Why the FIA doesn't force that driver swap immediately, why the FIA is like, all right, hey, we're under safety car anyways, Max, give up your place.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it argued both ways, and for sure, Max is gonna take his way every time.
Yeah,
and I think if I was a racer, I guess I would take that same approach.
You have to.
Hey, I'm gonna be up in front until I am made to.
Yeah, well, it's a 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
What are you going to say? Give me the 5-second penalty. I'll take it. You're still in clean air the entire time. You still got room to make that gap. The 5-second penalty is not enough.
It's a strategy. If you, they showed what it was like the last. Well, I don't know if it was last year, or I seen a picture of him pretty much doing the exact same thing there. Which was going off the line, getting up in front, and then getting a penalty. Maybe, was it there? I don't know. I have to double check my sources.
Well, it's not new behavior for Max Verstappen by any means. It's why he's a world champion. He doesn't give a shit. Yeah. But the question comes down to, did Piastri force Verstappen off the line? And I think it's a clear no.
Well,
I think Verstappen could have kept that line in.
I've seen some pictures that will say both ways. Obviously, Piastri stayed in the track. It did not look like he was turning on a turn, but he was clearly still in the track. So I think that was his line.
Yeah. I mean, it effectively comes down to me, I think, Verstappen overtaking off the track, which usually should be an immediate driver swap as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It was a 5-second penalty. It probably benefited him that it was a 5-second penalty because he was able to keep clean air and he was able to make that gap. Eventually, it didn't work out for him. McLaren gets the undercut and does so beautifully. I couldn't be happier about Piastri's win. I think Norris did some fighting to get back there, but it simply wasn't enough. And it may be
new leader.
Yeah, it may be a sign to come. I think Oscar Piastri is looking at Lando Norris and saying, "I drink your milkshake. This is my team now." Yeah. This is not a 2-driver team. I am the number 1 driver for McLaren. If you're Oscar Piastri, I mean, why not? And if you're McLaren, if you're Zach Brown, why are you not giving a guy like Piastri who consistently delivers?
I think there was some
more resources,
some hints of that in the post race.
You think so?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of him saying, "Yeah, we got a new champion in front of us."
Yeah, I mean, Zach Brown's gonna go for the winner at the end of the day, but for a team that's talked a lot about, we have 2 number 1 drivers. Yeah. Papaya rules. It's something that they've consistently stated out over and over again, that they don't favor one driver over the other.
They are 2 number 1. I mean, they've proven that they can be up at the top, and they're constantly top 5 for sure, if not on the podium.
Yeah. But you look into the race, and you look even as I think I can't remember what lap it was, but there's a moment where Piastri is talking about like, hey, Lando hasn't rather Piastri's engineer calls in and says, hey, Lando's strategies, he's going to stay out a little bit longer and see how much more he can get out of these tires.
Yeah.
And Piastri goes like, I think I'm getting a little dirty air from him. I think he's like slowing me down a little bit. And next lap, they were like, okay, Lando box, please get the hell out of the way because we need this guy to keep. I think
that maybe that was part of the reason why he came in so hot. Maybe.
What do you mean?
Norris.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he was a little pissed off, I'm sure, but what are you gonna do?
He was late on the brakes coming into the pit.
I didn't really catch that.
Oh yeah,
was it really that bad?
Oh yeah, he flattened. Oh, I mean, he was getting his tires changed, so it really didn't matter. But yeah, he definitely had a flat spot on those things.
All right. So we talked about Verstappen's turn 1 incident. Tough weekend for Yuki. Speaking of another incident on the first lap. God, what does this do for Yuki's career?
That's what I wanted to look up right now. And it was the point standing, and
I think I have the
Yuki's 5, and then I wanted to look at Hadjar, which is also 5.
Oh, we're talking about total race standings, or
yeah,
he's got Yuki's got 5 points, and Hadjar has 5 points, also tied with Carlos Sainz, who I think did exceptionally. By the way, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, that was one thing I didn't put in my notes, which should have been up there. He did, yeah.
What's that, Carlos Sainz?
Yeah, Carlos Sainz.
Yeah. We'll talk about Williams in a second. I
mean, I think it was fucking, sorry my cursing, but it was a great
You're going to get
race.
fined.
Yeah, I'm going to get fined. Yeah, we were just talking about the fines that can happen. What was I looking for?
Yeah, it's not a simply lovely weekend this weekend for Max. I mean, again, he did what he could, but he definitely made sure everybody knew about how he felt. Do you actually want to talk about Lance Stroll today, or
maybe we'll say Lance Stroll for the last part of it. Yeah.
I mean, I did hear.
I feel sad. I feel bad for that guy.
So somebody talked to him and interviewed him and was like, hey, so you now have the most Q1 exits of any driver in history. And he said something about like, well, if you've been driving in a blah, blah, blah. I was like, come on, dude. How are you going to keep justifying your job at this point?
Yeah, look at Alonso.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's a clear difference between a Lance Stroll and a Fernando Alonso.
I think he said, well, if you put like Norris in my car.
Yeah, any one of the McLaren drivers were in my car for however many years, they'd have the most Q1 exits. And I think you're dead wrong about that. I think
he's most certainly dead wrong.
Dead wrong about that, Lance Stroll. Okay, so we did want to talk about DRS today. Is that right?
Yeah. I think that's something, because I don't even know myself. I mean, I obviously can see that there's DRS zones. I understand them for the most part, where that's the only time you can use your DRS, which is drag reduction system, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
But the part that I guess I don't quite understand is how it works, not only in strategy, but how it works where there's a time you got to be within a certain like gap or something. So if you want to
so I mean this is where I wanted to talk about Carlos Sainz and Williams, who were both in the points, Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, one after the other. And there was a moment where the young upstart Isaac Hadjar was chasing Alex Albon late in the race, and there was a call from Albon's engineer. He's like, hey, back off a little bit of Carlos Sainz, because he almost wrecked Carlos Sainz, and he was like front graining on that left tire, and he's like, Albon's like, hey, did you not notice there's somebody behind me, you know? And so they for a little bit of strategy, this is sort of a weird one that apparently Carlos Sainz sort of innovated back in Singapore a couple years ago, but Carlos Sainz actually slows down a little bit to keep Alex Albon in his DRS zone. And so that's where the timing aspect of it comes. So you're only allowed to use DRS, your drag reduction system, when you are within 1 second of the car ahead of you. And that's true for lapped cars as well. So if you're in first place and there's a car that you're lapping, you can use your DRS as long as you're within 1 second. And so let's break down
the zone.
Yeah, and in a DRS zone. So let's break down a little bit what DRS actually is. So you've got, when you're driving forward in a straight line, you've got a major force coming against you, and that's drag. Drag is actively making your car slower and pulling it back. It's fighting against your power.
Yeah.
And so what your front wing and what your rear wing are doing are actually collecting that drag and sort of converting it into downforce. Downforce is what is keeping the car on the ground.
Connected to the track.
Absolutely. And there's other things like ground effect and the way the floors are designed and the way, there's a multi-billion-dollar industry, I'm sure, and several PhDs all developed around how air flows over a Formula One car and other fuselage type
creating cyclones and whatnot.
Exactly. So what the drag reduction system does is that when you're in a specific zone, typically only straights really, and sometimes a little off before the straight ends, is the driver has a button on his steering wheel, and it will take this flat wing that is creating downforce from the drag and open it up. And so you get a little bit of a downforce reduction, but you also get a significant drag reduction, I think upwards to 30%, if I'm not mistaken. And what that allows the car to do is use more of its power and propel itself forward and is used for better overtaking. Now, the concept of the drag reduction system was conceived roughly around 2006, 2007 with what was called the Overtaking Working Group. It was a committee effectively within Formula One where people were engineers were trying to make racing more exciting, allowing for more overtakes. And that's effectively what the DRS has done, is given more opportunity and almost an inevitability of overtake in the straight, in the DRS zone. Funny enough, the drag reduction system, in effect, existed in 2011 with Mercedes and kind of became encoded in 2012. And so it's only slightly younger than Kimi Antonelli himself.
That's pretty funny.
So I had that one banked. And so what that drag reduction system, like I said, helps create overtaking opportunities. And so that's where you had that really interesting attempted pass on Lewis Hamilton from Lando Norris. I can't remember what lap that was either, but you've got Lando Norris.
It was late in the race. It had to have been like in the 30s or something like that.
Sort of mid-race.
Yeah.
So you've got Lando Norris. I don't know what the turn is either. It's that big sweeping left going right into the last straight, and so Lando Norris is trying to make that turn and trying to get ahead of Hamilton, and Hamilton lets him go. Lets him go by.
Seasoned racer knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that there's another zone up ahead that he's going to just.
It's chess, not checkers.
Yeah.
So Lando Norris makes that pass, and then immediately Hamilton is in the DRS right behind him, gets ahead of him, and then that's the turn. That's the pass. I think Lando gets ahead of him again later on in the race. He ends up finishing P4, right?
Yeah.
So
they do it. I think twice. He does it once, and then he passes him, and I think he misses the next one. And then realize what's going on, and then he kind of waits for.
He learns.
Yeah, he learns.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll keep learning.
I guess that was a nice little lesson that Hamilton taught him on that.
Yeah, that was very generous of Sir Lewis Hamilton to teach.
And then just going back on the Carlos Sainz thing.
Yeah,
was that must have been the thing that they were talking about, like truck trailer or whatever?
Yeah, so truck and trailer. The concept of effectively giving your teammate a tow. And that also works with slipstream. But by keeping Alex Albon in the DRS zone, in Carlos Sainz's DRS zone, that allowed Alex Albon to use his DRS, negating any effect that Isaac Hadjar would have for using his DRS. So by keeping Alex Albon behind him, going slower to do so, Carlos Sainz actually saves the race for both him and himself, because the moment Isaac Hadjar gets ahead of Alex Albon, he's in Carlos Sainz's DRS.
Yeah.
And there's nothing Alex Albon can do to help defend him against that. And there's nobody ahead of Carlos Sainz to get a tow from. There's no DRS that Carlos Sainz has.
Yeah.
So you could have had an opportunity where Isaac Hadjar would have picked off both of them and made it into a P8. And gotten some serious points for Williams. For RB. So it was a really, really smart strategic move for the Williams garage and for Carlos Sainz as a whole. And boy, is Alex Albon lucky that he's got some thinkers on his side.
That comes with like the seasoned racers and teaching them young bucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, Alex Albon is far from a young buck at this point, but his racing career isn't quite as what would you say? There's a word for it. It's not quite as good as Carlos Sainz.
Yeah,
Carlos Sainz has a lot of hate from a lot of people, but I think he did a phenomenal job at Ferrari last year, and he's doing an excellent job in a Williams right now. So yeah, I think he's actually that good, and hopefully he stays with Williams for a little while and makes a great team out of Williams too.
I mean, it looks like it. I mean, this past race was probably his best one of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What else? So that's the basics of DRS. There's more that we can go into. The effects of dirty air and how aero affects that. I'm not going to go into that just yet. I think there's a much bigger topic or a much bigger discussion on aerodynamics in general.
DRS,
I'm genuinely not qualified to talk about, but maybe with enough research, we can sort of scratch the surface of.
I mean, in general, I would. Saudi Arabia, what is it, Jeddah? Is that what?
Yeah, Jeddah. The Jeddah Corniche circuit.
What is that?
That's what it's called. I don't know why it's called the Corniche. It was an exciting race, and I don't know if it was the night
the night races, because I've noticed that the night races are a little nicer and faster, or at least they seem like they are. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an optical illusion. I mean, Saudi Arabia is a genuinely really fast circuit, so there's that.
Oh, there was another note that I had that I didn't put in here, but the whole Norris calling for someone to turn their light off.
No, that was Piastri. Yeah, that was Piastri. As he was ahead, he was like,
"Oh, really?
Hey,
I thought it was Norris."
No, it was Piastri. I've seen memes about it, where it's like Jos Verstappen with a with a little laser pointer. Yeah, no, whoever was flashing a red light in some balcony somewhere was throwing off Oscar Piastri because he's in clean air. He's leading at that point after that pit stop. And I guess like he was thinking that red flags are coming, and like, yeah, I can imagine that could be a little unsettling. It is what it is. It's an environmental concern, but so be it. You know,
we didn't touch. I mean, we talked about the Sonoda crash. We haven't really talked about. I know we talked about having somewhat of some segments of that possible musical chairs.
Yeah,
the two crashes with Sonoda in was it free practice 2 and then the race.
No, he's costing some money towards the budget, which becomes a problem after a while.
And I still, when I pulled up the points, I mean, him and Hadjar are tied right now. I didn't see where
Lawson
was.
Yeah, Lawson had a 10-second penalty at one point and dropped him way back down. I mean, he was doing okay in Lawson terms, but yeah, he finished in he's in 18 in the drivers' championship right now with 0 points.
0 points, yeah. I
had the results here. Lawson P12. Yeah, P12 for Lawson. So again, not a terrible result, just behind Fernando Alonso, way the hell ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. But still, you know, he's still getting beat by Isaac Hadjar on a race by race basis, and for somebody that's been demoted once, with I'm sure some Red Bull Junior drivers waiting in the wings, just like he once was, I think he's very, very aware of how tenuous his position is at Red Bull or with the Red Bull organization driving for VCARB at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. Not looking great.
One more race. I think if it's bad in Miami.
If it's real bad? Yeah. I mean, if it's real bad for Lawson in Miami, yeah, maybe one more race, maybe two more. I mean, but nobody expected Ricciardo to go so quickly. Nobody expected Lawson to be kicked from Red Bull so quickly. So, you know, I don't think there's a lot of love lost there for anybody. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think there's I don't know the guy's name, but there's a pretty solid Formula 2 driver that's driving for Red Bulls right now. That, you know,
another junior team.
Yeah, he just won in Jeddah. So we'll see how it goes. But one more takeaway of Saudi Arabia that I want to talk about before we go into a little bit about Miami and what's coming up next week is I want to talk about my favorite aspect of Formula One this whole season, which is Charles Leclerc's conversations with his engineer. Who did he pull that pass on? I can't remember who he passed. Was it Russell that he passed or somebody?
I thought it was Antonelli.
Was it Antonelli?
Yeah, because Antonelli was a little further back.
But yeah, it might have been Norris. I can't rember. Okay, so sorry. First podium for Ferrari. Thank you very much.
We can't.
No. We're gonna get canceled. We're not gonna be allowed to record here anymore if we don't talk about Ferrari and their first frickin' podium, which is very, very cool. So happy to see it. Did I call it last week? I did.
Yeah.
I called second place for Charles Leclerc because I'm, again, a hopeful. I'm a romantic. But
I mean, it showed, so it wasn't too far off.
No. I mean, again, I didn't count for Max Verstappen or Lando Norris in last week's predictions, and I was right about one of them. Yeah, Charles Leclerc, man. Once again, delivering race day performances.
Hell of a race.
It's what he does. You know, Ferrari Hamilton doing his job for Ferrari too, but I don't know. I can talk about Hamilton a little bit later about how I feel with how things are going with him. But more than anything, that one radio call where he makes that pass and he's like, "Well done, Charles. Thank you, Brian."
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian, man. That was
It'll be their conversations will be known for a while.
it's my favorite saga in the whole F1 zeitgeist at the present moment. So I'm really appreciating that. Keep up the good work, you two. Whatever the hell is going on.
Yeah, I mean he performed super well, and I would say the same thing about Hamilton. Even though his off-track commentary about him doing everything he can and it's still not working.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said the same thing last year, and year before that. And
so is it an excuse that he uses? Because
I don't know. I'm sure he genuinely believes it.
Yeah.
I mean, even Leclerc was a little distraught after qualifying. I mean, their qualifying pace has not been what it is. This has been a qualifying championship. Even Fred Vasseur said so. Yeah. Fred Vasseur, the team principal of Ferrari. So, I mean, Oscar Piastri is the one that made that a fluke. There's issues with dirty air in Formula One right now that are making qualifying a much more solid prediction of who's actually going to win the race. I mean, it's hard to get around people, and that's why DRS exists and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you're racing cars. The whole point is to get around people. So if you're not doing that consistently over and over and over again, then you're not going to win races. And Lewis Hamilton has not been winning races. When he did qualify well, it was in China. It was for the sprint, and he won that race. But that was it. So, but all that to say, I couldn't be more excited to see a Ferrari podium this year.
Yeah,
they're not looking great, either one of them in the driver's standings.
37 or 31 Hamilton and 70 or 47 Leclerc. I kind of mixed both of those together.
Yeah, and so that's 26 points that he's behind George Russell now in the championship. So if George Russell keeps doing P3 performances like he'd been doing up until this point, then it's going to be really, really hard for Leclerc to even make it on a final podium at the end of the season. Like to see it, it's what I want, but it's going to be a challenge, especially with Verstappen, especially with Russell, and especially with Piastri.
Yeah, and we got our standout rookie, Antonelli, up there with 38 points.
Yeah. No, he's doing an excellent job. Where did he finish after this one?
At the end of this one, he was
6, P6. Yeah, P6 right behind Russell. It was 5-6 for Mercedes, who are still doing well in the Constructors' Championship. I have that here. Yeah, they're still in second place, right behind McLaren with 111 points. McLaren leading by 77 points with 188. So still all in all favorites. And again, Lando Norris, not doing nothing. Ended up in P4. Still good points, not a podium though.
Yeah, what a great fight to come back. I mean, he had to get around.
Yeah, well, and the mentality that you have to have after crashing and qualifying. He's lucky that he crashed in Q3, but still, after wrecking your car and qualifying, it's got to be hard to show up race day and feel like you're delivering a performance. And I think that's probably the main difference right now between Piastri and Norris is their mentality, because it's not the car. The main difference between them has got to be their mentality, because I imagine Lando Norris is showing up every Sunday shitting bricks. Thinking, what's going to happen to my championship? How is this going to affect my standings? What's this race going to? And Piastri
all day.
I don't think Piastri thinks a single thing. I think he is just
he's a racer. Yeah.
I think the moment he sits in that car, his mind goes blank, and it's like a nirvanic state that he enters into, and that's what wins championships.
Yeah, and
man.
it's coming a lot sooner than I kind of predicted in our early podcast, saying that he would be a great racer.
Yeah,
someday.
You were so right. Someday is today, buddy. It's happening. Someday came. All right. So do you want to talk about Miami a little bit?
Yeah, that's a track I have. How did David? What's his name?
Davide Valsecchi.
The way he says circuit.
Circuit.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, that is a circuit that I have not seen.
Well, it's pretty new. It started in 2022, I think, was the first race that they did in Miami. It's a temporary circuit, built to feel like a real circuit, but there's obvious evidence that it's a street circuit. Lots of long straights. There's 3 DRS zones in
19
in Miami.
turns.
Yeah, I remember I've played Miami a couple times on F1, and yeah, those turns 11 through 16 leading up to the back straight is an incredibly long back straight. But those turns, you're like under braking the entire time. You get down to first gear, and you're just sort of like trying to pilot this slow moving boat through those turns, just so you can get on the outside of 16 and blast it down the straight. So that's your second DRS zone there. After that, you go into 17, tight little left turn, and then back into the final sector, or back into the first sector after the finish line is a DRS zone right beforehand. So it's
kind of set up almost the same way as Jeddah as far as like DRS, that one where you get the back.
You get the DRS on the back straight,
and then you get it right at the front.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit different in terms of some of the slower points that you have. You are very slow in the slow points, but by the time you're up to speed, you're really up to speed. And that sector 2 leading up to those turns is a really, really not quite straight, but a long sort of meandering curve. So you got turns 9 and 10 there that throw a little chink into things, but there's some high speed racing going on, so it'll be very interesting to see. Relatively short turn in terms of overall length at 5.4 kilometers.
So are we going to see a lot of overtaking? And
yeah, I think you'll see a lot of overtaking in sector 3 and in sector 2 in those longer areas. I think you'll have a couple spots right there in between turn 19 and turn 1. Perhaps we should do an overlay graphic. This could be helpful.
Yeah.
And turn 19 and into turn 1 over the starting grid. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity for overtaking. I think if I had to make more predictions for this one, you think we're ready for predictions on this?
If I'm going off of a track that I don't know, but I know that it's a street circuit, I'm just going to say Max is somewhere up in the top.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I don't think you're dead right about that. I want to say this is going to be a Max Verstappen victory with Oscar Piastri in second and Lando Norris in third.
Yeah.
This was Lando Norris's first victory in his driving career. I think he had something like 30 podiums up until this. It might have been less. Could have been like 18, 19. But this was his first actual victory. I still remember Zach Brown like running out of the garage. Like, where's my boy Lando? Where's Lando? That's my boy. It was so good. He was so genuinely excited.
Changed.
Yeah. So, oh my God, Zach Brown has to be the cockiest person in the world right now.
Yeah.
I know most Europeans hate Americans anyways, and it brings me so much joy to know that Zach Brown is just the most American blowhard, and he's just whooping ass in Formula One.
Yeah.
So, while I'm not always the hugest fan of McLaren, I'm a big Zach Brown fan just from his Wheel of Fortune performance alone. And I really like Oscar Piastri. So I think it's going to be a significant points victory for McLaren. I think Verstappen's going to take it. It'll make things a little bit more interesting in the Drivers' Championship. But I think it's still going to be McLaren with the points, and I think it's going to be Verstappen with the actual win. That's my 1, 2, 3 is Verstappen, Piastri, Norris.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you.
Same. Okay. Awesome. This it worked last time.
Yeah, for real. I did. Yeah, I think it's hard to go against that, unless it rains.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it rains, I think that just increases Max's lead.
Yeah, but it'll definitely change up 2 and 3.
You think Lando takes it if it rains?
I'm obviously Australia, I think it was a one-off for Oscar coming off the
I
track.
wasn't even thinking about that, but honestly, you may have something there.
I think, yeah, I think, I don't know. Let's hope.
We don't know. We don't know.
Because we don't know the weather.
Yeah. Do you have a bean shot from Saudi Arabia?
Bean shot.
If you're just joining us, hold on. Sorry, Rick. If you're just joining us, we're here again at the beautiful Zito's Deli here in San Antonio, Texas, where when you order anything but a serious sandwich, you get a little cup of beans, and we call it a bean shot, and that is what we call our driver of the day. Again, Max Verstappen is driver of the day in Saudi Arabia. Sure, fine. It's Max Verstappen. What are you sure? But come on, who's your bean shot?
I would say Leclerc.
Leclerc. Okay, yeah, that's a phenomenal choice, sir. Thank you. I'm gonna say my bean shot is Carlos Sainz. I think what he did with the boys over there in Williams saved them a lot of points and kept RB off their ass just a little bit. Isaac Hatchar's turning into a monster, man. So he did some really great defensive work. That's my bean shot of the week.
Sainz, yeah, Hadjar is a monster, and I think well, how did Ollie do? I didn't even.
Behrman? Oh god, it was okay. It was a rough race for.
We need to keep up with our.
I have it.
Our
right
rookies
here.
as well.
Race result for Haas. You had Behrman in 13th and Ocon in 14th, and I had. Let me look at qualifying real quick. That was the final. Behrman qualifying in 15th and Ocon qualifying in 19th. So with a little bit of pit stop strategy, and I mean, both of them making places on the grid. So good stuff for Haas in general. I know their qualifying has been a little bit rough, and there's always going to be a difference between qualifying pace and race pace, sometimes for the positive, sometimes for the negative. It's sort of the opposite of the way Ferrari's been looking, is where they haven't been qualifying well.
Great,
but on race day, they're kicking ass. So
I think that goes to show that they are looking at the data and working it the right way.
I mean, they better be. They pay enough people to do so.
Yeah, because I mean, how do you not do well in qualifying and all of a sudden race day comes and they're just better?
Different setups, different cars are meant to perform better under different conditions. Qualifying conditions of a racetrack are significantly different than those during race day.
Because cold,
you got track evolution and tire degradation over time, higher fuel loads. There's different factors that you're dealing with between qualifying and race day. And so with the Parc Fermé regulations, you have to have the same setup, I believe, between qualifying and race
day. Really?
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Because I heard that someone switched the wing or something like that.
You do take a penalty for changing significant parts, I think, between qualifying and
I thought it was like
Red
racing. Bull, like change their rear wing or something like that.
I could be talking out of my ass. I might have things different.
But
we're supposed to talk Parc Fermé at some point, so we'll get there.
I don't even know what that is.
Parc Fermé, I don't. It's French.
I was gonna say it sounds like a French word.
The same reason it's Grand Prix. Also French for Grand Prize, I think is the name, is what it translates to. I
thought it was like Grand Prix.
I mean, depending on who you're talking to in Formula One, yeah.
Quick little question, and you may not even know the answer.
Probably
but
don't.
Maybe we can figure the answer out and maybe talk about it on the next one. Why is it that they do qualifying like that? I understand that that's kind of the way qualifying goes for most races. I've seen it off-road. They kind of do the same thing.
Where do they do qualifying? Like what?
Where they're like all on the track and then they're kind of feeding off of each other, but then some people don't get someone that they can kind of draft behind. And
I don't know why they do it like that. I imagine it's an evolution of how it started in the very beginning and, has been codified over time. I imagine it probably has to do with creating the most equal opportunity for all the teams. But yeah, why they do it like that, it's a bigger question, and perhaps that's a bigger topic that we can go into, the qualifying format itself specifically. I think next week I want to talk a little bit about the sprint format because we're going into another sprint race.
Oh, Miami has a sprint race?
Yeah, we've got a sprint. So the race not next week, but the week after. So I think next week I might want to talk about sprint formats, and we've already seen one this year, and I think we might see 2 or 3 more. So that's an interesting thing. But in terms of qualifying, yeah, why they do it is an interesting question. How they do it is a much more manageable one for me. What occurs from it, I think, creates an interesting format. I think, and especially this year, I think qualifying has become far more interesting.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is
to the spectator than it has in times past. And I think qualifying is probably, has higher stakes now because of the way they do things. So, why? Interesting question. I'm not sure I could glean too much insight from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that they do it, awesome. I really like qualifying.
Yeah, it definitely adds another part of, I guess, entertainment, because then you see them like scrambling to get out there, and like some people don't get to go out there because there's a red or a yellow flag, and then now they're scrambling to try and get back out there, and then there's penalties because you're out there too early, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's sporting is what it is. Honestly, I think that's what it is about qualifying, is it's competitive.
Yeah.
I think if you had given each team a clear track at a specified time where the temperatures were probably going to be the same or in an average area, I mean, you would have some specificity in the way cars were set up because of that. But because they're all on the track all at the same time, and they can choose when and how they go out on the track and what order, sometimes you want to go out early when there's not much track evolution and bang out as fast as a lap as you can, and hopefully nobody touches it. But typically, as far as I understand, the more the track develops over time, the faster you can go around it. And if you've got warmer tires, you can lay down even faster laps. So it does create some internal strategy in the qualifying session itself that is, sporting and competitive and a lot more fun to watch than what would effectively be a time trial.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Well, when you see like time trial type stuff, they get their track by themselves and stuff like that. And all right, well, I guess we'll leave that to.
We'll see.
We'll leave that to the next one. And
indeed, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, Rick?
I don't think so. I think we did our predictions for Miami.
Yeah,
it looks like a fun track.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'll definitely put some laps on it and on the Xbox and see what I think.
Did we touch? I think we touched on everything.
Yeah, I think so too. If not, we'll catch it next week. Guys, thank you so much again for coming back. If you've been coming back, I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Any like, any subscribe, any comment, you're doing so much for us and for this little podcast that we're doing. We want to keep doing this for as long as humanly possible. So please keep up the support. Thank you so much for it again.
Yes.
If you're not following us on Instagram, you can find us at HalfSeriousF1. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, first leave them on the YouTube link, which is where you'll find this podcast in most cases. Otherwise, you can email us at halfseriousf1@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for being here, and we can't wait to see you next week.
Follow us. Follow Zito's. We're gonna get Brad. We're gonna get Brad to start posting on Zito's.
Yeah. Follow Zito's.
I guess we can't say much because we've posted one time.
Yeah. If you are following the Instagram, you've seen some cool pictures from Long Beach, and that's about it. We're gonna try and get some more stuff up there. I think we'll probably throw our predictions up there this time around. And try and get as much engagement as possible. So again, thank you to all of you. Come to Zito's, watch F1, watch Half Serious, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Have a lovely week in between races, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Peace.